Oh, no.
I blame the children.
Let's just say there's a pile of boxes on the floor.
Oh,
You don't have cats.
I have cats, and there are always boxes. My foyer.
We were supposed to watch Cats?
No! Oh,
Yes, we were
God.
supposed to watch Cats.
Oh, man.
Oh.
We were supposed to write an essay on Idris Elba, but I don't really feel like it.
Oh, I was going like Julie Andrews Cats.
Nope. We will watch Cats only when the butthole cut is released, and not before.
Good.
I'll still
sticking
watch
to it.
the regular cut.
No! Only the butthole cut.
I'm uncomfortable now.
You'll be safe.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And I'm the asshole for not wanting to look at assholes.
Yeah.
How does that make you an asshole? I don't understand.
That cat is showing you its appreciation of you by showing you its butthole a centimeter from your eyeballs. Appreciate it.
I'm a dog person.
Puckering away,
Pulsating.
trying to beckon you in.
Squishing.
Grody.
Guys, you're making the real difficult for me to decide what I'm going to put in here for content.
Or real easy.
Good. Excellent. We're just going to drop right in.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dan.
And we're the Rewinders Podcast, rewinding movies to see if they hold up. And this time, we took a wrong turn down a multiple choice alley of doom by watching Labyrinth.
And boy, did we ever. This is, man,
Have you not seen this movie before, Ken?
I have. And, back when I watched this movie the first time, I must have been real sleepy or something, because I could not, for the life of me, get into this movie. It was just, the music didn't hit right, the acting was all weird, the characters were meh, and,
That's how I feel about Dark Crystal. I could just never get into Dark Crystal no matter how many times I try.
Oh, I
and-
take
well,
Dark
see,
Crystal over this
I only
any
watched
day.
it one time. I only watched it one time, and I was like, okay, that's enough Labyrinth for the rest of my life. And then Joe said, let's watch it for this podcast. And I said, well, it has to be better than that last movie we watched, so, yeah, let's do it.
So that's your history with the movie?
Oh, you kids
mean,
and your Caddyshack.
It
Yeah.
was better than Caddyshack. I will give you that.
Much. So that's Ken's history with the movie. Dan, what's your history?
First time I watched this was probably a junior or senior year of high school. I had a girlfriend at the time who was big into Labyrinth, and I'm like, I've never seen this movie, and it's got David Bowie. What could go wrong? I was so wrong.
Were you, though?
I just can't. I don't like this movie.
No?
Dance, Pettigrew, dance!
Nah.
Well,
Dance,
we have a
Pettigrew,
whole
dance.
section of this show for you.
Yep, we have a whole section
That's
for
the-
it, so I'm gonna
It's the Dan section.
I'm gonna behave.
Of the show.
Dan, Magic Dan.
No. No.
How about you, Andy?
You're just jealous because Hoggle makes you look bad.
Hoggle makes me look bad? Well, I guess I'll
Hoggle has a wonderful skincare career.
take that over being called Ludo, I guess.
What?
I feel like my dog looks like Ludo, and I feel like there's a missed opportunity not renaming him to be Ludo. It makes me a little sad inside.
Yeah, you didn't think of it because this is a shit
You
movie.
call him Ambrosius.
No, I thought of it immediately. Immediately, I was like, "You look like Ludo," and my wife was like, "No, I don't know what that is." And I'm like, "It's from Labyrinth," and she's like, "No." That's where it ended.
Oh, okay. So your wife has taste. Excellent.
Ooh, yes, his boo.
We'll have words about this eventually.
My history with this is my sister and my mom were like obsessed with showing it to me. However, there was a point where my sister kept trying to rent it from Family Video when I was younger, and it was gone. And after like calling back for like a month straight trying to rent it, come to find out that the person who rented it just never returned it, and it was just missing. So
That jerk.
That would never happen. Not at a family video.
Not at a fan vid.
I guess the Family Video employee said it was like the third time that's happened with a copy of Labyrinth, so they just couldn't keep Labyrinth around. Every time they got it, somebody stole it. So
Yeah.
Why?
As a former employee of a family video, There are certain movies you just don't stock because they encourage certain ne'er-do-wellery. Labyrinth is one of them. You don't buy it because it's gone and you can't get your money
Why
back
would
from
you
it.
want to keep a rented version of this movie? I don't understand.
I don't know. Especially when you have your name and everything on record. It's like, why? Why would you just... I don't understand. I never understood stealing movies from video rental stores.
Especially since they have no qualms about putting you towards collections for a stupid movie.
Exactly. Like, what a way to mess with things. We finally did get a hold of a copy from, I think it was Hollywood Video or somewhere else. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it a lot. And as the years have gone on, I watch it, and I watch it maybe once every couple of years. Recently just bought the 4K digital version, so I watched that this time around. And I still love it. Still love everything about it. I'm a huge David Bowie fan, so that's probably one of my biases. Jennifer Connelly is like a mixed bag for me in this movie, so I'll get to that. But yeah, it's been one of those movies that's been in rotation, and I have friends, and we all sing Magic Dance, and we play Labyrinth board games and things like that. So I have a circle of close-knit friends who enjoy this movie and enjoy David Bowie quite a bit.
Sure. My history is also, I guess, kind of similar to Andy's. Whereas my sister was is the key reason I watch this movie still, because she was all into it when she was in high school, and therefore, since she's watching it, I'm around and I enjoy my sister's presence, so then I watch it with her, and then I start liking it, for good reason, I guess. Plus, she's also the sister that got me into watching Amadeus as well as a little kid, which
Ooh.
a lot of people don't quite understand that jump that I made, that I was like, yes, I like the movie Amadeus. And it's like, when did you start watching it? I don't know, before I was in school or something. Like when I was in grade school.
Yeah, that's a little intense.
Wow.
And also she introduced me to a lot of 80s horror films. So all these things were because of my sister. And this is one of them. And she always wanted a Sir Didymus plush, and I can understand why. He's cute and funny and has a
I get it.
fuzzy dog Ambrosius.
Joe, sounds like we had spirit sisters, and that makes me happy. My sister introduced me to 80s horror as well, and everything else.
Wait, did you have the same sisters?
Maybe.
What?
Who knows?
I mean,
I think,
there's documentation for this, guys.
I think my sister's favorite character in the film was the caterpillar, if I remember correctly.
That's a
It's a
good
worm, not a
choice.
caterpillar.
The worm. Yeah, not caterpillar. Worm, yes.
Tea-worm.
And I was actually thinking about getting her a replica of that, because somebody just made a statue.
Oh, they're all over
of
Etsy. Like, people just make them out of, like, Sculpey and fur.
Yeah. Well, if anyone has not seen this film, I'll do a short summary of it. There's a girl who likes community theater, and she likes to practice out in the park because no one hangs out in that particular pretty park in Astoria. So she's gonna go home and sulk in her room like she does every night because apparently she doesn't have friends. And then her parents are like, you gotta watch the baby. And she's like, fuck the baby. Not because she hates the baby, but because she hates her stepmom. And then goes and sulks in her room and makes some bad choices in anger. And then wishes her baby to be taken, not her baby, wishes her baby brother to be taken away. Which then he is by the Goblin King, David Bowie. And then she's like, oh no, I didn't mean it. And has to go through the labyrinth to get her baby brother back. That's the gist of it. And then there's some puppets. And they're good puppets.
There are many puppets.
Lot of puppets.
They're all fantastic.
So
I
many
mean, they're
puppets.
Henson. They are Henson puppets, so they're going to be good.
Yes. Jim Henson directed film.
Yep.
That matters.
To your point, Joe, I've watched this movie probably about a dozen times, maybe a little bit more than a dozen times, and this is the first time I've ever noticed like where her mom is. Like, I don't know why I didn't pay attention. And
I
like I
paid
noticed all the
attention this
clippings
time
and stuff. It's
too.
like, oh, right?
Yeah.
It's like-
It gives a reason why she's into theater and why she does all
exactly.
that. I was like, oh, I've never noticed that before.
Isn't that nuts? That's after so many viewings, all of a sudden that just stood out this time.
So if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, her mom obviously was in theater, and that's why she's into theater. Her real mom, not her stepmom, and obviously passed away without anyone ever mentioning it.
Yep.
Which is fine. You don't have to. It's alluded to, and that works.
Absolutely. There's obviously that rift between her and her stepmom for no reason other than the fact that she's a stepmom.
Yeah.
So
The entirety of the of her character is such a wonderful, angsty child, hating everyone for no reason except for the fact that she's mildly inconvenienced.
That's a lot of
she
teenagers.
doesn't hate Merlin. She does not hate Merlin. She loves that dog.
Okay, that is true. The mother-in-law is terrible to the dog.
True.
Yeah.
True. Pouring rain and forces to go in the garage.
That's enough.
Stepmom is not a dog person, obviously.
What does Dad see in stepmom? Because
Date night.
Blonde.
Oh, good date nights. Oh yeah.
It's got to be the sex.
It's got to be that. The dressing, the big poofy silk dress. I don't know. Big
The
shoulders.
tall hair.
No, I mean,
Tall hair.
we're,
There you go.
We're making fun of this, and this was things that happened in the 80s.
Yeah, everyone had these things. I know. That's why we're making fun of them. It's fine.
Well,
Right.
actually, if you look at it, he didn't have to parent at all. Like, he didn't even go through a door to talk to his daughter. His wife, his new wife, just takes care of all the parenting. There you go.
I got stuff to say about that, but I'll keep that for the Dan section.
Hey, can we not make this my section?
There's column A, column B for me. There's gonna be some good stuff in both sections.
Yeah.
I should open my notes.
I mean, I have, as much as I say I don't like Labyrinth, I have watched it at least half a dozen times at this point, and I think it's because I keep forgetting that I don't like this movie, and I want to like this movie, but I can't. I think that's my problem.
One of these viewings, it'll get you, Dan. One of these viewings.
One of these viewings? Well, I mean, it's gonna be a while.
You'll MC Escher your way into liking this movie.
I mean, it's already been like 20 years.
At your way into it, Dan. Jump off. You'll just float on down, and it'll be okay, and then you'll like it.
Well, I'll start off with saying that this was the best damn 3D owl of 1986.
Yeah.
That was pretty freaking fancy.
Right?
Considering the time,
It was.
and there's only a couple of bits where the graphics get stupid, and it's not even the owl. It's just the way that they cut the hard edges around the box that was the owl being animated. It's the only complaint that I had with that owl. But that wasn't even the owl. It was just how they edited it. Oh my god, edited it into the movie.
When I was reading on the internet some trivia, and they had mentioned that this was the first attempt at a photorealistic owl animal in any Hollywood movie. I was like, oh yeah, that's nice. It definitely looks really good, especially for the time.
I mean, it looks a little metallic, but whatever. I don't care. Like you said, 1986? Hell yeah, that's great.
I only have metallic owls in my... Oh, fuck, what movie was that?
The,
Fubo.
it's
Titans.
Yeah, Clash of the
Titan-
Titans.
Yep, there you go.
That's it. I only like metallic owls in my Clash of the Titans movies. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I already made a little bit of comments about the beginning of the movie in the park and the parents. I'm going to say that the movie does a good job going really fast, getting you to the things you want to see if you're watching this movie, and that's the puppets and the fantasy elements. It doesn't really wait. It kind of just steamrolls right into it.
And I like, their first introduction is just a pile of goblins. Is she going to say it? And then she says something like, that's not it. As if they're just waiting for, like, they know she's the one who's going to be saying something. Very fun. I laughed quite a bit. It was like, why are they showing the goblins already? It just seems like a giveaway of the, and then the punchline to the joke. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Very fun. I love it.
I love all of the Henson puppets. There's not a single one of them that don't like even the third party, not third party, like the tertiary, quaternary, the characters that mean nothing and are totally in the background. Each one of them is unique.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even the eyes and the moss on the
Yes,
wall.
because they're
I
all
love those
moving.
eyes.
They're all watching.
Those are amazing.
I really love those eyes.
I
Yes.
can't get over how much detail was put into all of these puppets, and I feel like they spend a lot of budget on the puppets and not the rest of the movie.
Makes sense. It's a Henson movie.
That's what Henson
but,
is
like,
all
other
about.
Henson
And that's,
have a modicum of a
what?
cohesive story.
Oh, Dan. Dan.
Ouch.
I think you're misconceived about the 1980s and Muppet
yeah.
movies, Henson movies. They
'Cause
aren't
before this
as
was what?
cohesive as you think they are.
That's why I have a problem with Dark Crystal. I feel like it's like way the hell out there, and I can't follow along.
Right. Dark Crystal had its own problems.
It duned itself. But the thing,
Yeah, I can
with
see
that
that.
is
I
that
can see that.
they released the
But-
comic
but
books
Dan, like-
later for Dark Crystal, which tells all of the lore
That makes sense.
with Dark Crystal, and then there was the animated film.
But also, like, Henson really wanted to do Dark Crystal as well as Labyrinth. You can see that Henson got to do what he wanted to do with Labyrinth and the labor of love he put into it just by all of the detail, the stupid hands, the eyeballs in the swamp, the little worm. Like, all these details in this movie, you can tell that he just poured so much of his soul into this movie and really wanted people to love this movie.
Exactly.
He wanted to address Dark Crystal with that same energy, but nobody understood what he wanted to do there. They're like, you want to make a dark movie? They didn't want him to do that, so he was going against a lot of pushing, and then I think there's something to do with him selling off the rights and then buying the rights back and a whole bunch of stuff. So it was very difficult for him to get the movie even done the way he wanted it done.
Okay, yeah.
For Dark
I could
Crystal.
see that. I could see that with Labyrinth. It's like, what? You have Bowie? Oh, okay. Do whatever the hell you want.
And he did.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and
Free reign.
Bowie for this movie was actually kind of Bowie's own doing. Jim Henson originally wanted Sting for the part, and then his
Yes,
kids
I
are
heard
like, well, why not Bowie? He's really popular right now. And then Bowie says, hey, I want to be in your movie. It sounds really fun. And so it was just one of those things where both people are there and they're like, all right, we're going to have Bowie, I guess.
And if I also remember correctly...
I wonder if I would have liked this movie better if it was Sting.
No, you wouldn't.
I mean,
No.
Really?
we'll never know. We will never know.
He was busy doing Dune.
I believe I also saw something that it said once they brought David Bowie on board, and they're like, yeah, you can help make the music for it too. And he's like, okay. And like 2 days later, he has a demo track that he's
was
already
reading.
playing
Oh, right.
for
Yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah. He
Yep. Yeah, he went
pounded
nuts
through
with
that
it.
so
There's
far.
a bunch of music that he made
So
that
good,
never got
absolutely.
released for it, if I remember correctly. Other tracks
I'd
that
love to hear it.
just didn't make the cut. I would like to like listen to
Yeah.
his release of the album and not like the
film
movie
release.
soundtrack. Yeah, I feel like had
Sure.
he released his thoughts on the movie as music, I'd like it more. Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying so hard.
Hey, I'll also, since we're talking about the music, I'll mention that I really like that even though Jareth is the villain of the movie, all his songs do not depict a negative attitude. Really, they're not like angry songs. They're not
Dance
evil
Magic Dance is
songs.
deciding what
They're just kind of
songs. Magic to use to change the baby, which is technically dark, but
Yeah, but I mean, like
Yeah, it's just a baby.
certain lines.
No. Dark is like Mufasa dark. Or Scar dark, I mean.
Yeah, Scar. Now
Yeah.
there's a villain.
Scar, yeah.
I just think that the music that he sings in the film is, even though it may be something about changing a baby with magic or gaslighting a young girl into convincing her that everything is for her and that she's the actual one in charge, the music doesn't make you feel like this evil energy. It's very positive music no matter what.
yeah.
I completely agree, Joe. It's not like he's singing like evil plans. It's not like he's singing like sinister things to come. It's just he's trying to make a baby laugh. He's trying to do this and that. It's very positive music.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. He's even trying to make her feel or realize several times like he's trying to help her. All he's doing is doing what she asked him to do.
I guess for other things that we like that's not Bowie, I do enjoy that Jennifer Connelly goes from a angsty, that's not fair teen to the point where she is actually not in a not fair situation, that she doesn't say that. She's just like, all right, I got something to do. I got to do this.
Yeah.
Like, she shows some really good character growth all throughout the movie. Like, even once she gets into the labyrinth, she goes from being very self-centered in her own mind to, listening to a worm. Was it the right decision? Probably not, but she started listening.
I got a whole spiel on that, and I'm gonna save it for later because
You don't like it.
No. It's not a Dan section. It's an exterior to the the like and Dan sections of the show.
Yeah, and the worm. I'm just a worm. If you wouldn't want to go the other way, that would have brought it right to the castle. Yeah, that worm is amazing for having like
Good worm.
3 minutes of screen time.
Constantly asking her to come inside.
To meet the missus. Very never-ending story vibes, like just a nice, friendly worm that is in a relationship, and it's just like, oh, stop everything you're doing and just come inside, have a cup of tea, and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Like the two little, whatever they were in Never-Ending Story. The old scientist man and his wife.
Oh, yeah. I just was going to say, I think that ask of, come on inside, have a cup of tea, meet the missus, to the viewer, you're basically in the seat of the Sarah character in that, that's ridiculous. I can't come inside. You're a worm. You live in this little hole. But it's also the labyrinth. She totally can go in that hole. She can. Because everything's a trick. Everything is a facade. Everything is a mask or a trick or something. So, yeah, she can go in there if she wants to. She gets to decide.
I felt more like it was a sense of urgency. Like, she only has the, 11 hours at that point? 9 hours?
Well, yeah. Exterior to the whole timetable she has to go get her brother.
Taking the time out for a cup of tea was not feasible. At least that was the way that it felt like to me.
The pacing keeps everything engaging. I feel that, there's always something happening that needs to be resolved, and it's always resolving. So it's like positive forward momentum in the film. Everything's being asked and being answered, or at least
I feel
resolving.
like the pacing was a little too fast, to be honest. There were portions of this movie that I wish would have gone longer, but at the same time, there are also portions of this movie that I wish would have been shorter. So
I agree with you too.
Like the fireys.
Yeah. It kind of comes hand in hand with it, though. Like, the movie's staying on a quick pace because she's staying on a quick pace. Like,
Yeah, she's got to keep moving. She's got to get
I would
to the
love
babe.
to spend more time in this world.
well, I mean that hits on the
Exactly,
main thing that I don't like about this movie. So we'll hang on to that.
And also remember, this is a
It
children's
is a children's movie. I am aware of that.
Children's attention spans are different from adults.
Yep.
Yeah.
I personally thought most of the pacing was spot on. It was great. Like, I really enjoyed the junk ladies.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yes.
the way that they're like, they just start piling stuff on top of her to try to make her into one of them.
Yep.
It's wonderful. It's great. It's kind of a amazing life lesson for children. Like, it's all just kind of let it go a little bit. But depending on your point of view, you could say that's really a quick scene and you'd like to hang out with them a lot. But I feel like we got the perfect amount of the junk ladies where we can love the character, the idea, we get the message, and now we can move on.
Same with Chili Down. Like, Chili Down was perfectly timed. No need to
Well,
go any further into that.
Definitely not any further. That one felt like it might have been a little bit too long, although
You're a liar.
ultimately that was the reason why I didn't like the movie the first time, was those stupid red things dancing around.
Well, I mean,
very
yeah, that
poorly inserted into the movie.
awful green screen.
That
And
puppetry
it-
is amazing. Well, they can't help
Heads
that.
flying around.
The whole fact that that there is like one or I'm going to say probably 2 to 3 people puppeting each one of those characters so that they can move independent of each body part. Come on.
It's the same. So it was at the same time that I watched this movie as I watched Terminator for the first time, and I also disliked Terminator for the first time because of similar reasons. It just looked like a stop-action animatronic in the middle of other people doing what they're supposed to be doing. It didn't look good to me. and I
You
couldn't
spoiled
get
brats.
into the movie. As I'm older now, I can be like, okay, that's fine. I don't need it to look exactly right. I can jump into this and be fine. Like, it hit me at the wrong point in my life. Now is the appropriate time in my life for these type of movies. Or, before I was a younger me as well would have been appropriate, but I can't go back. I can only go forward.
The masquerade scene is
That's
gorgeous.
one of the scenes that I wanted.
I cannot express how beautiful that scene is.
Like,
Yeah.
there's so much going
that
on
scene is
in that
amazing.
entire scene.
I almost felt like it was going on too long and then it ended.
I get that it's paced the way that it's paced, but they could have totally extended a bit of that whole her being drugged by the peach and dealing with her inner demons.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
Again,
Yep.
if it's a movie
Yep,
for
I
young
get it.
adults and adults, I imagine that happening, but
Mm-hmm.
To me, it felt almost perfectly paced, almost a bit long in the tooth, just because it is a kids' movie and they don't necessarily care as much about like all the little intricacies that go on into that. But also,
True.
it felt, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, it kind of feels like a homage to the original Muppet Show, where they have those ball scenes where everyone's dancing and they're going around making jokes. He really likes those big ball numbers. But no, I love that scene where Jareth keeps on jumping around to different areas and she's looking for him somewhere. There's all sorts of cool things going on. Everything just looks so good there. Yeah, it's a wonderful scene. I do love that one.
Yeah, I didn't find out until years later that this is actually probably one of the scenes why the movie was so popular to my sister.
Oh, really?
I guess female audience of the 80s, children of the 80s, yeah.
are you kidding
The
me?
hots for David Bowie, and I guess, bam,
That
this scene.
if you look at the dress that they put Jennifer Connelly in, the what they do with her hair, the stuff they weave into her hair. Hell yeah, if I were a young lady in the 80s, I'd be in love with that scene too, just for the whole fact of, like how they made her into this like gorgeous fantasy young
all
lady.
of Labyrinth is that way though.
Exactly.
And that wasn't something that that was something that I noticed this watch, is that everything in the Labyrinth up until the Goblin Village is covered in glitter. I never
Yes.
noticed that.
I saw that too. I was going to
That's in the bad.
There's glitter everywhere.
Huh.
No one can go home without depositing a pound of glitter into their pillows.
Oh, that's very fun.
And even worse, it almost looks like it was wet glitter.
Oh.
Like everything's wet and glittery.
God. So it ain't coming off for a year.
That's 80s glitter, so it's going to be made out of glass.
Ugh.
Oh, even better. Well, in a land where fairies bite you, I mean, that's just makes sense.
Fairies are feral creatures.
I know. I love that scene with Hoggle just poisoning the crap
And
out of
Kelton.
fairies. It made me so happy. You're introduced to the man pissing, and then he starts killing fairies. Like, what a great turnaround.
I think he's one of the best sidekicks that I've seen in films that I've been watching lately. Because
Agreed.
he's caring, he's supportive, but he tells you right up front he's a coward, and that's his main downfall that he has to personally work through to be a dynamic character as well. And does he do it? Sure, but does he do it well? No, because he's a real type of personality. He struggles with what he's, having problems with. Great sidekick.
All right, and you're not going to get it perfect on the first try, so I actually really appreciate that they didn't have him get it perfect on the first try, but that they did have him try.
And it was shown that the lead character was understanding that, yes, you'll make mistakes. It's okay, but you still came through for me. It's a very positive message that you can make mistakes and still
She's awfully forgiving
come
for
through.
the fact that, he fucking poisons her.
I also credit this movie for teaching me the word oubliette when I was a tiny, tiny kid.
Something that never came up until I started playing D&D. And then it's all over D&D.
That's a tricky one.
Which is weird.
Is it?
Yeah.
I've never encountered an oubliette in D&D, interestingly enough. I have encountered it in my French class, where that word comes from.
Yeah, it's really weird when you don't hear that word again for like
Decades?
2 decades,
Mhm.
and then suddenly like you're like, oh, here's the oubliette in the castle, and you're like, what? These things are real?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's exactly what they said. It's a place where you put prisoners to forget about them. And
Yeah.
people would often starve to death in there. It's kind of like Dark Knight Rises, where they throw Batman into a giant hole. Same idea.
And some castles are built so that you can continue to hear them wailing and pleading for their life because for some odd reason you want to hear
This
that.
isn't a dark movie.
It's
This isn't a dark
weird.
movie.
Rich people are
This isn't a
weird.
dark movie. This isn't a dark movie, guys.
And I'll give this movie a big thumbs up by using circular storytelling in that at the beginning we see Sarah performing the scene from the Labyrinth, and the way the movie needs to wrap up is that she needs to say the line she struggles with and can't really fully remember and sneezes and coughs her way through.
So even with the great amount of character development, she's still good old Sarah who can't remember that one line. To be fair, I also couldn't remember
You
the
know
one
what?
line.
I can't really remember what the line was to begin
I was
with.
going to give her shit, and I was like, what was it? Because as you're going through that final speech, you're like, wow, this is a really disjointed set of words that they just wanted to sound super fancy. I don't understand at all what she's trying to get across with this speech.
She just keeps forgetting that you have no power over me.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important line right there. Okay, well, since we're there, kind
Yep.
of, you know how we just did Jurassic Park, and then we wrapped that up, and then days after we wrap that up, Laura Dern comes out and says, you know, I never really thought about it, but me and Alan's relationship in this movie is a little inappropriate. I was 23 and he was 40.
Oh my.
And we went into that being like, well, they're not really in a relationship. They're like, they seem more like besties than like it
Yeah.
could go the other way. But
Mhm.
in this movie, it really felt like there was strange attractions between the two, almost
I know
eerily
the two
to the
actors
point where.
are those ages, but the characters are not.
Bowie was 39 in this movie, and she was 14.
Well, I mean, technically, if you look at the character ages, like
And then
Jareth is going to be hundreds
Well, I
of
was
thousands
also-
of years old
I'll have more to
At
say
that
on
point, like-
that later.
in the movie.
sure in the movie.
So the same thing with Laura Dern saying that
Yeah,
you
he is
know
the Goblin
these two
King.
characters are not appropriate. How old is Grant and?
I assume they're supposed to be the same age, 23 and 40.
Okay, I guess it's
That's not necessarily even remotely how movies cast people, so it's hard to say.
Right.
But it is time
I don't
for
like
the
that we've made
dance
this
section.
a thing
Oh.
because you guys have things that you don't like about movies, and we don't make a scene for you.
Yeah.
I've already kind
Wait.
of been into the dance section anyway.
Yeah. Let's just
with-
keep rolling.
The uncomfortableness of the relationship there, where there feels like there's supposed to be something there, and it's just kind of creepy.
Well, that's
in a way.
intentional. It's supposed to be creepy.
And it probably doesn't help that I was reading articles about this movie, and eventually once you start reading articles, you're going to end up into the weird, creepy section of the internet. So maybe I accidentally dipped a toe into the weird section of the internet. I sure hope I didn't. But
Oh,
Oh,
Ken stumbled
no.
into some fanfics.
no, not that. Not that. This was still articles written, not necessarily alternate histories written. I'll know if I get that far in and be like, no, out, back, no, not for me, no. Hoggle, what are you doing? No, stop it. Anyway, this is a family movie. Stop it.
Jareth decides to string his balls to create a new device.
Oh! Speaking of string balls, Jareth wasn't actually the one playing with those glass balls.
No.
I learned that just before we started watching.
There was someone around his back.
I learned that a couple years ago and it broke my heart because I was actually looking at getting one of those because I saw it linked on like Amazon or something and I was like, oh man, I've always wanted one of those. And then I realized, oh, he just had somebody doing it in front of him.
Yeah.
That makes me really depressed.
It won't make you less cool if you know how to do it with glass.
But I thought Bowie was cool. I thought Bowie was the one doing it.
Bowie's just a little less cool, I guess.
Hey, that guy who actually did it, it was like amazing because he couldn't see what he was doing hardly.
That is very true. That is very true. He did an amazing job for somebody who wasn't even able to be up and actually watching his own hand.
Yeah, unlike the Muppeteers who get to, have the thing, he just had to do it blind.
It still is cool that is actually someone doing that.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
Would they do that today? Probably not. They'd probably CG
They'd find an
that
actor
crap.
who could actually juggle. That being said, they cut those scenes with him juggling the spheres really well.
Either way, it's cool.
Like, not
sure.
knowing it, you would have, not knowing that it wasn't David Bowie juggling, you'd have no idea. And now that has ruined the movie for me because I know, and I have to say something every time.
You don't have to say anything, Dan.
You don't
No,
have
I
to,
can't.
Dan.
There's a compulsion that I cannot fight.
Can you see where the guy's sticking his arm out? Like, that's, now that I know that,
No,
I kind of want to go back and see
you
if I can
can't.
see.
It looks like David Bowie's shoulders and elbow go to where they belong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that well done. It's an amazing cut.
And they cut away at just the right time for where to show. It doesn't show.
I'm glad we got that out before we went full Dan.
Yeah, I was going to say, we also forgot to talk about the Escher staircase. We mentioned it, but man, that was good too. That
Very
was
good.
really, really good.
Drawn out. Jeez, it went on for too long. We're in the Dan section now. Also, babies in this movie. You know how I feel about babies in movies. God, it's something about them. They're just so helpless and annoying. They're just like, what are you doing here? Stop it. Just stop. No, don't.
Chen doesn't like babies in movies because babies can't act.
Yeah, well, I also just, in general, have that babies don't do things for me that do for normal people. People are like, oh, it's so cute and everything. I'm like, it's
Fair. No, that's
it's
fair.
still being worked on.
I don't like children either.
And so, like, I don't get the cuteness factor. So, like, when they do things, it has to be legitimately cute. Otherwise, it's just like, well, so babies don't trigger things inside me that apparently is supposed to be triggered. So when they throw a baby into a movie, unless it's doing something legitimately cute and isn't CGI, then it's just another thing there that's just like, oh great, a baby's here for tension.
So you like Boss Baby?
No, I haven't seen it, but no. Wait, no, have I seen it? I may have vaguely seen parts of it, and it was, meh.
No, Joe, I think he's saying he likes Look Who's Talking, because then the babies, they're more
Absolutely have
identifiable
not seen that.
as adults.
I think you'd see me watching Son of Mask first.
Have you watched the show Old Enough?
Yes! Yes! Oh, it's an amazing show.
They're not babies, but they're like toddler age and a little bit older, but that's when they start doing cute things.
That show is incredible. I stumbled across that one day and I just could not stop watching.
It's good.
For those unaware, it's on Netflix. Check it out. It's toddlers being sent off to do adult things in Japan. It's wonderful.
Okay, that actually sounds like it might be fun.
It's stuff like they give the kid, like, here's $3. Go take this train down to this street that goes to this ferry. Take the ferry across the river and go get fish from this market and bring it back. And it's like toddlers.
Fine.
Like toddlers.
Nah.
It's so good. It's so good.
You say that, Dan.
I've watched episodes.
You say that now.
No, thank you. No.
Really?
Why are you letting children do these things? And then... And
Oh, and Japan.
Clearly so they can comment on along the way and make fun of them with every step. Oh, you dropped the fish, you dumbass. What's he gonna do now?
Child abuse monetized.
Well, it's actually to give you a better picture that children are
Smarter than they
sent out to like walk to school and stuff like that
In
by
Japan,
themselves at a
yeah.
very young age in Japan. So it's something that happens anyway. It's just they made a TV
And
show
they
about it and to show kids
dramatized
being
it.
cute to hopefully inspire people to have kids. It's meant to. I feel it's meant to make people want to have more kids because they have a very low birth rate in that country.
Yeah.
I could be
Yeah, I
very
would agree.
wrong,
That's definitely.
but it feels like that's what that show is meant to do. Anyway,
Okay, so if we're gonna jump into my part of the film, this whole thing now.
lead it up, Dan.
The problem
Lead
that I
it up.
have with this film is that they tease so much of like this big world and you get so little of it and there's nothing else. It doesn't
That's because she's under pressure. She's got a clock
for
she's racing
whatever
against.
reason I can't
Is that a
get
Bowie
This isn't a vacation. She doesn't get to just
I
enjoy
can't
things.
I want more out of this movie and you don't get
But
it.
that's a good thing. When you leave a movie wanting, that's better.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. Because they were talking about doing a sequel at one point. Before Bowie died in 2016, they were talking about doing a sequel. And it just never happened. And I'm so glad it didn't because now you're always going to have that feeling.
I don't want that feeling. That's not good for me.
Oh, but it's the best feeling. It's when they start hammering you with like 15 different Labyrinth prequels and then comics and everything else under the sun. It's when they Star Wars you and take away all the joy and suck it all out. Like, we had to know that Han Solo was named Han Solo because of a reason versus just knowing his name is Han Solo.
Same thing could be said about Shrek.
Right.
I mean, it's shoehorning things in.
No, we do not need more Shreks.
We need more Shreks.
The second Shrek
we need a million more Shreks.
Was where it should have stopped.
More Shreks. Shrek is love.
Shrek
That
is life.
and Minions.
Yeah, I agree. Minions needs to be stopped. But Minions is just the new version of Looney Tunes. Like, all of our parents were obsessed with Looney Tunes for some reason. Like, they had those gross, stupid tattoos and shirts that just were awful. That's Minions now.
Yeah,
like, it's just coupling whatever the hell they feel sayings-wise onto a minion, and there it is. That's their personality.
You wanted more, you didn't get it.
That's the thing. Like, I keep watching this film, and I keep being reminded of the things that I want to get out of the movie or get more of in some other medium, and there isn't.
There's Fraggle Rock.
Not the same universe.
I feel like it's the same universe.
How do you know?
Just a different corner of the universe.
Yeah, there's Dark Crystal. They always come bundled together as a Blu-ray or DVD.
I love the Dark
I haven't
Crystal
started
TV
watching
series.
it yet. That's my fault.
That scratched the itch that I needed, and then Netflix killed it.
Yep, as
like
they do.
it always
That's all they
does.
do. Dan, how would you feel if this had gone like the Beetlejuice route? Beetlejuice is an amazing film, and it's on its own. There's no sequel yet.
Thank God.
It's been talked about for 30 years. However, all of a sudden there's a Saturday morning kids cartoon. Like, what if there's a Saturday morning Labyrinth cartoon? Do you feel like that would have scratched the itch for you?
Maybe. I don't know.
Do I want to see these things as cartoons?
It would have. I think it would have been the same vein. Like, you have Beetlejuice
I liked the Beetlejuice TV show growing
Lydia.
up. I
It's
loved the
this
TV
weird,
show.
creepy. I did too. But if you look at that, like, it turned it into this weird angle where they're like budding romantic friends in the cartoon. Whereas I feel like that'd be the same thing with this.
Well, we'll never know because it won't happen.
Oh, yes, thank you. yeah. I feel like it probably would have been in the same vein almost.
But instead of getting that, we got Muppet Babies.
Hey,
Nothing wrong with Muppet
don't
Babies.
talk ill of Muppet Babies.
Right? They do make your dreams come true.
Muppet Babies, way before the Disney mergers and everything, back when we were wee childrens sitting in our living rooms, they somehow had the ability to talk through all the red tape and get those Muppet Babies and TIE Fighters and dressed as Indiana Jones in that opening.
That's true.
I mean, come on.
I mean, Henson
Magic was happening.
and George Lucas were friends. In fact, George Lucas was on Labyrinth, I think, and decided to not make a big deal of it because he wanted Henson to have the limelight. I think he was a producer or something.
There's a ton of Lucasfilm employees working. They were what Industrial Light and Magic is now.
Oh, so there was like 50 people working on the Owl from Lucasfilm.
Probably.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So watching this movie, I had rather like, oh, yay, because I wanted to watch it thinking, how did I see this when I was younger in the 80s? How was I watching this? And when I saw Jennifer Connelly turn around, and I was like, oh, god damn it, I feel old now. Because I remember thinking like, oh, she's
right there with
she's
you.
mature looking and stuff like that as a kid, and I'm just like, oh my god, she's just a small kid.
I think the problem for us too, Joe, is we've come full circle. We grew up with Jennifer Connelly as a young child, looking mature in this, and then we've seen Jennifer Connelly in recent roles, like Maverick, where she's starting to look pretty old. But then there's also stuff in between, like Requiem for a Dream.
I was going to say Requiem for a Dream.
Oof.
Yep, we've seen Jennifer Connelly in a lot of different lights since we saw this as a child. There's no going back. You can't just erase all of that.
Yeah, it was just reminding me, time marches on.
Yes, it does.
The disc I have is the 30th anniversary edition. So that was from 2006. 10, 20. Nope.
What?
20, it was from 2016. Sorry, my bad. So in 4 years, that movie is going to be 40 years old. Anyway, that was like top on my, like, this is what I don't like. Movies making me feel old right away at the beginning.
Yeah. Movies will do that to you. Especially ones that came out
Yeah.
however long ago 1986
So
was.
20 years from 86 to be 2006, and it's almost 26.
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
Joe's
almost
edition.
40 years old.
Yep.
Yeah.
My God.
We could also go 36 to make you feel better. Is that right?
That
I
sounds
don't know.
36 and
How old am
86.
I?
Yeah, that
right.
sounds about
36
right.
sounds about right.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, the green screen scene wasn't great because of it not, it's just at 86, how many times did we have a lot of good green screen other than Blade Runner?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
Kind of Tron
still.
in points.
Tron did not do
No, they didn't. They had no green,
green
screen. That
screen,
was
no.
all. It was all rotoscoped.
Black
Everything
was
was
their
rotoscoped.
key. Yep. And a lot of it had
Yep.
I want to say reflective tape, which they enhanced the reflections. And that's like it was cool, but there's not as much
Well, I
CG
mean,
as you
in
think.
the areas that are not like blatantly CG.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of same effect as in Escape from New York with the buildings, because that wasn't computer generated. That was just, a miniature city with reflective tape on all the corners to make it look like it was grid.
Hmm.
AKA Dan's favorite movie.
Watch that over Caddyshack. Said it last week, 2 weeks ago. Say it again.
Yep.
Oh, it warms my heart.
But yeah, I'll say some background music is not anything to call home about. Is that a bad thing? No, it's just
Something that bothered you.
it doesn't. I was looking for anything to say that's like, hey, this part wasn't great, and it's like, yeah, some of the background music is meh, but whatever, it does the job. It gets you into the emotion that they want you to, I guess. But
I
don't
could
know.
argue that
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
David
I
Bowie's
don't-
music, as much as I like it, sometimes felt shoehorned into the scenes that they were filming. Like Dance Magic Dance just came out of nowhere.
You're a monster. You're a monster.
Sure. I mean,
We got to be critical.
I'll
We
say
got to be
sure.
critical of these films, guys.
But
We
that's-
can't just.
yeah.
I mean,
Do we though?
we did
Do
all of Jurassic
we?
Park, and we were critical of it there, and we're critical of it now.
Right. Jurassic Park we're doing differently though. This is our standard. We don't have to man baby every movie. This is fine. This was a fine movie.
Just close your eyes and think of the cleaners. Just think of the cleaners.
I don't know what
Close your-
that means.
The cleaners, when they come on their
The
little
one in the
cart with
hole.
their
Oh, the
spirally
cleaners. That's
blades.
right.
Yeah.
Yes. They even pulled off the early video game. Is this a wall I can blow up scene?
Yes. Yes.
This wall is slightly different colored. I guess I can push on it till it moves.
I had an interesting reaction this time around. Like I said, I've seen this movie about it at least a dozen times, and I've always hated Jennifer Connelly in like the first half because I thought the acting was way over the top. It was ridiculous.
It is.
I thought she was just terrible, and I could not stand how whiny of a brat she was. It's like I don't even care about her character at all. Like, good for her that this is happening. But this time around, it actually did kind of hit, and it did kind of sink. It's like, okay, it's on purpose, and I've just been too critical through all these years.
But it is super over the top. This is a fine criticism because as I was watching, I was like, man, she is just, this is terrible. This is awful.
The scene with her in the room with the baby, it feels like it's like a read. Like she came in for a read.
Right.
Like she's trying to be as dramatic as possible. She's not really like looking at the baby, and it's just like she's delivering a line. And I get it, but I think with the newfound information of her mom being an actress and like just her trying to emulate that and the over top ridiculousness, just like the woe is me and everything else mixed in, it hit different this time
Sure.
for me.
Yeah, you could play that. Perhaps that she's doing the community theater bit so much that she just comes off as that in her real
Melodramatic.
life.
And some teenagers are just really over dramatic. I mean, that's a reality.
Well, then I have a Degrassi for you.
No, God, no.
But that also makes her character all the more visible in dynamics when at the end of the movie she is
Yeah.
not that way
Exactly,
anymore.
which I didn't really appreciate until this viewing. Like, this viewing really changed that for me, where I could actually see the grand transition from the beginning to the end.
But did she really have to put away all of the toys?
Yes.
Was that really required?
Yes.
Is
for growth.
growing up putting away toys, is that really necessary? Is that what we need to be telling people?
As I sit here as a 34-year-old with about 24 Jurassic Park toys sitting on my desk in front of me,
Right.
I just lined up all the characters, and now there's a Velociraptor coming around the corner.
So about that, Ken, that's it's not about the fact that she's getting rid of all her toys. It's about what it represents. It represents the fact that
Represented giving up childish
yep,
things.
she's hoarding her childhood. She's holding on desperately to when she was young through all these things. And at the end of the movie, when she says, "Okay, let's these can go," means that she has let that part of her life go, and she's honestly maturing now. It doesn't really mean that, yes, she's getting rid of every single toy. It's a physical representation of her maturing.
All I know is that adults aren't allowed to be happy. That's what I get out of it.
Well, of course not. They barely even get a date night.
Right?
But in this movie, at the very end, they combat that, suggesting that her parents kind of are in their rut of adultness, and they don't have to be, because those friends that she made on this journey, which are a representation of all these things in her own room manifested in her imagination, come back and say, "If you should ever need us." And she immediately says, "Yes. From time to time, let me get this right. Because she doesn't say it in future tense. She says it in now. She says, "I need you. Time to time, I need you." And that's not because she's an adult now and needs them. It's because we as viewers are the adults and stuff. And that's showing that, like, don't forget that you have that imagination where you can make these wonderful worlds that you can escape to if you need to. If the world is honestly too harsh and too, unbearable, you have that childlike imagination and ability to build these things, and maybe even, for sake of really terrible events, you can hide there. And that's always an option as an adult. You just have to say, "Yes, I need that right now."
Okay, I'll stop
Joe
being
getting all deep over here. Holy shit.
I'll stop being so cynical. I forgot about the very end of the movie. That was really
I'm done, guys. I can't be pissy about this anymore. Holy fuck.
So, have you also heard the prevailing fan theory about this film that's been kicking around?
I have not.
That I don't like it myself. I think it makes everything too tangible and it gets rid of the fantasy. But it's basically that Jareth was a real person that fell in love with a person named Sarah. I'm assuming in this fantasy world. But Sarah's parents wouldn't let him marry her because of she was to watch over their younger brother, blah, blah, blah. So he instead then kidnaps the baby and turns the baby into a goblin, and then they marry. But I guess apparently this Sarah that he marries dies horribly. And then he continues to try and find a Sarah that fits the exact same mold, because that's his now how he expresses his grief. So he goes out into the real, what we consider the real world, and does this where he steals babies to turn them into goblins. And they said it explains why Hoggle says, "Oh, it's you," right away when he meets Sarah, and when she says her name is Sarah, he says, "That's what I thought." Because this has happened time and time again. That's why there's so many goblins.
Oh, I don't like that.
The baby brothers from all the Sarahs.
Like that.
No, I don't care for it either. I think it destroys a lot of the magic.
I think it more likely that she took a while to get to the thing, and Hoggle was given a task to not help Sarah get through the labyrinth.
Yeah.
Much more likely, a lot less.
100%. I agree.
Jareth told Hoggle that she was coming, and it took her way longer to get to the Labyrinth than Hoggle was expecting her to, and he was just put out by it.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem that commented on it were all like approving of it, and I'm just like, but it doesn't. It's what Andy was saying earlier. We don't need the backstory of who Jareth is. We don't need that.
No, we do
This
not.
movie is magical enough as it is. We don't need some dumb backstory to try and explain why everything is happening.
No.
Exactly. I've said it time and time again on this podcast. I just feel like movies and people specifically are so obsessed with trying to steal away all the imagination. Everything has to be explained. Everything has to have some sort of backstory. Everything has to be connected in some way, shape, or form. Long gone are the movies where you can just like sit and stew over them when they're done and think about all the stuff that you didn't get to see or didn't get enough time.
We don't get movies like that at all
It's
anymore
just
anyways.
gone.
Because those don't make money.
Yeah.
I know. It's depressing.
So we've kind of talked about it. Has anyone's view of this film, positive or negative, changed since their original viewing, or when they viewed it as a kid? Doesn't have to be the original viewing.
Well, with this sudden epiphany that you just dropped on me, it's not a favorite film of mine, and I don't think it ever will be, but I'm not going to fault people who do enjoy it.
Sure.
So I think it's gone from something that's just more of an irritation to watch to something that is neutral.
Okay.
I think I have, like Sarah, gone through some character development and went from being a melodramatic weirdo about this movie to actually really enjoying watching it. Yeah, no, I went from being humdrum about the movie, like, it's fine, whatever, I don't really care for it, to, no, this is actually a pretty wonderful movie. It definitely pries on my love of Henson movies. Like, I just enjoy watching him, and I have to be in the right mood because the stuff is a bit
Aged?
See, and that's kind of the big thing is there's... Obviously, is it a perfect movie? No. Does it have its issues? Yes. Is there anything else like it, though? Hell no. I mean, this movie is one of the most original, crazy, awesome movies that you can go and watch and know that there's not like 15 other ones waiting for you with different actors and different characters off to the side. That's what I love about this. It's gone. That whole feeling is gone. This is just one of those amazing movies where you can pop it in and it's like, this is Labyrinth. There's not like 4 different fantasy movies that are trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. I'll agree that not every single aspect of this movie is great, but that I feel it is well balanced. And even though maybe the Bowie music isn't the Bowie music I always want to cue up, and I don't feel like I fully like all the songs, I can either sing along with all of them or at least mumble in pitch through them because I'm so familiar with them and they're part of this film. And even if they're not great songs for me, I still know them and I will still sing along with them because I like the movie.
I mean, Chili Dawn is a catchy ass song. It is catchy as hell. I sit there and hum Chili Dawn later on.
These songs clearly aren't the Newsies, but but they're fine. They mostly fit what they're supposed to fit in the movie. Although sometimes it feels like feels like Bowie's doing a first take, only take on his musical songs.
When the movie first opens, that song kind of sounds a little rough, but then when they add the backing instruments to it, when it's like halfway through the movie, it sounds great.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Ludo.
We never talked about Ludo.
Same here.
Anybody who doesn't like Ludo is a sociopath.
Anything that can call rocks makes me happy.
Yeah, Rock's friend.
Oh, who let Ludo in here? Holy crap, that was good. That was great. Holy shit.
Now, does the film stand up?
I think it's to answer your question, Joe, it still holds up as a film. Like this movie doesn't have anything that puts it outside of puts it outside, but puts it in a specific time period.
It's kind of 80s.
It's kind of 80s, but like that's all the films that we've been watching are all kind of 80s.
Well, yeah, because it's from the 80s and 90s.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's fine. It doesn't do anything that would cause it's not blatantly racist or sexist in any way. Like the last film that we watched. Like, there isn't anything socially unacceptable in it.
Well, there's the bulge.
Well, we don't talk about the bulge.
That I felt like it got bigger as the movie progressed this time. I think the film holds up. It doesn't need to be anything fancier than what it is. I think it's fanciful in the story it tells, and that carries it. And I think...
It doesn't lean on any nostalgia.
No, I think that this... Well, I mean, it leans on Bowie nostalgia now a little bit, but that wasn't...
A little bit.
It wasn't intentional.
Yeah.
But, like, I think this could be introduced to anyone, and at the right time, this could hit right with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if no one else has anything to say about if it stands up?
Nothing else you guys haven't said. I mean, honestly, it still holds up to me. And I agree with what you said. It could be introduced to almost anybody at this time.
Yep.
Well, that was us howling at the sky and calling our rock friends to come watch Labyrinth. Please like, rate, review, comment, subscribe, all them shenanigans. Hey, we're on, all these podcast outlets where we actually have the audio is also on YouTube. If that works better for you, it might, but we're over there too. And come back next time when we will be nibbling at the jungles of somewhere out there as we terrorize locals with Rambo First Blood.
What a transition from
no idea what I'm saying about
to Rambo.
When I saw that it was streaming, I was like, yeah, this is the perfect to bounce off of something like Labyrinth and go right in the weird other opposite angle.
And sometimes you gotta terrorize them locals. They just deserve it.
Whoa.
I'm not sure I've seen this movie before.
All he wanted was a warm... Oh, you're in for a surprise. I'm not going to say anything else. Because this is one of those rare movies where the first one is incredible, and then it just completely becomes something that it never was. Every single
Right.
sequel
No, I
afterwards.
understand that. I've been spoiled the movie, so I'm like, whatever. I don't need to watch it.
Yeah, the first one's incredible. I absolutely love the first one. I go back and watch it maybe every other year or so just because it's that good. It's a good movie. And then after that, it just becomes ridiculous.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why do I suddenly have sympathy for the devil playing in my head?
Because it's a fine song.
So come back in 2 weeks when we rewind again. Sarah, friend.